Um, Welcome to Cosmic Diaries. This is Priya Kale, your astrologer, and I think I'm okay. So I'm going to give it just a minute to see if anyone else wants to join here. Otherwise, I'm going to start. I'm going to share my screen and just get into it because there's a lot I want to discuss today. And of course, welcome to Sagittarius season. So we're going to give it just one more minute. In the meanwhile, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully my screen, I don't have too much open. Yeah, okay, I'm good. So while I do this, I'm going to give it that 1 minute and we'll start at 2:02. And I figured I'm just going to leave my video off this time because it's a Sunday and I'm not, I'm in my cozy, comfy Taurus wear, not fully camera ready, but I am astrology ready. So, all right, it's 2:02. I'm just going to dive in. And then if anyone joins, I'll let them in. And then, yeah, we'll just continue from there. All right. So, officially, welcome to Sagittarius season, everyone. This is Priya Kale, your astrologer. And we're just going to dive into an overview of Sagittarius season today. We're going to look at the full moon and the new moon, and of course, the major aspects and what all of this means for you and your sign. So there's a lot to cover here, and I'm just going to get into it. And I'll do a quick, I mean, I don't want to, I've been doing this now for a few months now. I started doing these collective sessions earlier this year. And it's interesting because this is new for me as well. It's a new format and I'm enjoying doing it. I hope you guys find this useful. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, these are just the general themes which you can catch, you can read anywhere online as well about Sagittarius. I definitely want to go deeper into the aspects as far as what this Sagittarius season means for all of us because it's such a pivotal season that we're entering. The next 4 weeks, we're reaching a series of turning points, and Saturn now is rather the sun is newly in Sagittarius, but Saturn is currently stationary in Pisces. And Saturn is the timekeeper of the zodiac. And Saturn is now at the end of its transit in Pisces, where it's been transiting since 2023, March. So we're now, once Saturn stations direct, it will move straight through Pisces into Aries on the 13th of February. So this is the final run. And it's like everything, all the lessons we've been learning since 2023, March, now it's time to embody them. And as we level up, and with the sun now in Sagittarius and all the planets, Mercury is currently retrograde, Venus is in Scorpio, but will enter Sagittarius. Mars is already in Sagittarius. The moon was in Sagittarius when the sun entered Sag. This is the ingress chart for the Sagittarius season. And in astrology, when we look at a chart, we're looking at a moment in time, and a moment in time seeds all following moments in time. That's why the natal chart is so significant because it's your birth chart, it's the moment of your birth, and you carry that energy with you. And so it is with new moons or full moons or any chart that we're looking at. That moment is seeding the energy. And in this case, if we're looking at Sagittarius season for the next 4 weeks, as the sun transits Sagittarius, we're looking at the ingress chart for the moment the sun entered Sagittarius. And this is going to give us insight into what the upcoming season and 4 weeks are going to be like. So if we look at just this chart for Sagittarius season, now the sun and Mars are already in Sagittarius, as I mentioned. Saturn is stationary. And over the course of the month, these planets Mercury will station direct, all these planets will enter Sag and make a 90-degree angle square to Saturn and Neptune. And as they do that, a 90-degree angle, it's a square aspect, and square aspects will mark a turning point. And these square aspect is best resolved internally. So this is an inner turning point where something within us is now, as Saturn stations direct, and I don't want to run too far ahead, but we're now at the end of the Saturn and Pisces transit, and we're turning a corner towards a greater sense of freedom and stability and our future. The North Node is also in Pisces, so is Neptune. So, anyway, I'm going to get into all of these aspects in order, but let's start with Sagittarius season. Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign, as I mentioned, and mutable signs, Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, these signs come when when the seasons are shifting and changing. And so it is in our, as above, so below. So it is in our lives where life is now shifting gears and shifting shape. And so there's a need to be mutable, and which means be able to be flexible and move with this change of the seasons. We're coming out of a really powerful and potent Scorpio season. And this new moon, we're currently in the Scorpio new moon cycle. The sun entered Sagittarius. The Scorpio new moon took place at 28 degrees of Scorpio. And I should, honorary mention, we should touch on that because it was a very potent new moon, and it is seeding the energy until the Gemini new moon, which we're moving to on the 4th of December. And between now and then, Saturn will be direct and Mercury stations direct. So if we look at the new moon that took place in Scorpio on the 20th of November, this new moon was conjunct Mercury, and Mercury is now retrograde, currently retrograde. Mercury stations direct on the 29th of November. And Mercury rules the full moon in Gemini. So there were important intuitive messages coming through around the new moon and insights coming through. We're also learning the power of our mind. Scorpio is a sign that speaks of power, and Mercury speaks of the mind. And we're learning the power of our mind to create our reality. And with this lunation in Mercury opposite Uranus, now at 29 Taurus, it's like there's no limits to what the mind is able to conjure up, for better or for worse. And it's a matter of now us focusing our paying attention to our mental processes and our inner voice, and recognizing that we're not the mind. And it's important that we are the master of the mind, and not letting the mind be our master and create havoc in our life. So at best, this energy is sheer genius and brilliant and liberating. And it's like we have X-ray vision right now. But now soon, with this new moon at the end of Scorpio, immediately after, now we're going to talk about, and how can I not mention, also at this new moon in Scorpio, Uranus made its exact second sextile to Neptune. And this is in the second sextile in a series of 7 aspects between now and 2027 that are reshaping our world and reality, as well as awakening us to a deeper reality and the infinite potential within reality. And we're really waking up to that right now. And again, we're waking up to the power of our mind and our ability to see the inner workings of situations, and to trust our intuition, and to allow ourselves to be guided. So with Uranus and Taurus, there could be really powerful breakthroughs on the way right now. And as the month progresses, as we move further through Sagittarius season, Mercury will make another opposition to Uranus. Also, Venus will oppose Uranus on the 29th of November, just after Mercury's direct station. So that's that's intense. And there's some really unexpected developments, breakthroughs, revelations, conversations coming through around the end of the month. So I'll get into these aspects day by day a little later, but we're shifting a lot of energy now. And with the sun in Sagittarius, now let me go back to Sagittarius. This being a mutable fire sign, it's like the Scorpio new moon has brought about has ignited a powerful resurrection. And now there is resurrection that's unfolding and renewal, and we're shedding skin, and we're freeing ourselves of old patterns and old baggage, and stepping into the light of all that we've become. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is a very expansive planet. So this sign, Sagittarius, speaks of, expansion, knowledge, wisdom. I don't want to read all of this, but you can read what I've written here. I'm hoping that I've started recording this, because that would be really unfortunate if I wasn't recording it. Yes, I'm recording it. Okay. I just had a moment. Mercury is retrograde, and you just never know. I have done that before. I've spoken into the camera for hours without realizing that I'm not recording. So, anyway, back to Sagittarius. These themes are in focus now. Sagittarius is, is a sign of expansion, knowledge, wisdom. It speaks of the big picture of philosophy. It asks for perspective. It teaches lessons of perspective and what it means to walk the spiritual path, to practice what we preach. It asks us to move beyond our beliefs and ideologies and to have a higher divine vision. Sagittarius' sign, Jupiter represents God. And this is a very spiritual sign. So, above all else, it's important to remember that life is a journey. I mean, Sagittarius is a sign that rules journeys, and life itself is a journey. And at its highest level, this is a spiritual journey. And we're just on this physical material plane, learning lessons. And that's how we grow in knowledge and wisdom. And Sagittarius also speaks of attributes, divine attributes of kindness and generosity of spirit. It doesn't have to be of things. It's our ability to, share a kind word with someone. And if, you can't be kind, then, as they say, be kinder, at least. So with Jupiter now, the ruler of Sagittarius, the sun in Sagittarius, currently in Cancer, and Jupiter recently stationed retrograde in Cancer. So we're in a phase of deep discovery as well right now, and exploration. And we're looking to the future, but we're also, in one sense, with Jupiter retrograde, there's deep undercurrents of nostalgia in the past that are also tugging at us. With Mercury still retrograde in Scorpio at the time of this solar ingress, and Mercury, as of today, now I'm recording this on the 23rd of November, but as of yesterday, Mercury made a trine to Jupiter. Here's this is the chart for today. So yesterday, Mercury this is the chart for right now, 2:14. Yesterday, Mercury made a trine to Saturn and Jupiter. So there's this grand water trine that's been in effect. And I spoke about this in last month's meetup on Scorpio season. But with Mercury still plugged into this grand trine, and Venus is now approaching a trine to Saturn and Jupiter, which is going to be exact on the 24th, 25th in the coming days. There's a lot of emotions that are sweeping through and swirling within us and under the surface, and powerful undercurrents of the past, and we're sifting through our lives right now. So there's a need for, above all with Sagittarius, for perspective with whatever is unfolding over the next 4 weeks. and to keep sight of the bigger picture, and to recognize that we are on a journey right now, and the next 4 weeks are metaphorically or maybe literally, we could be traveling or making travel plans, but we're on a journey. But this is also the festive season and the holiday season, which again can also be a difficult time for many people. So be sensitive, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, and be willing to be generous of spirit where you can be. A small good deed or kind word can go a long way and be life changing. And kindness and healing and generosity and kindness, it works both ways. So it's definitely time to get into the spirit of the season, and it's always a good time to do that, but especially right now, because we're all feeling emotional and sensitive and tender. And the more we can channel our emotions consciously, we can, with the way the planets are right now, we can bring about a real change, not just, in our lives, but in the lives of everybody we touch, simply by our ability to evolve into a higher level of consciousness. And this, again, we are in Sagittarius season, which comes after Scorpio, and we are in the Scorpio new moon cycle. And Scorpio speaks of change and evolution. And on a soul level, this is purification of the soul, where we're purifying our darker, the Scorpio, we're purging our more base primal impulses and evolving to a higher level of consciousness. So we're letting go of our, material attachments. That doesn't mean that everybody needs to be a monk and go live in a monastery or a cave. But how do you move through this world with a level of detachment, knowing that any day and any moment could be our loss? So then what really matters in our life, you know? And so it's a matter of having that perspective. And then on a very real level, recognizing that we are being guided, because with Sagittarius, there's divine guidance and wisdom that's available to us. With this Jupiter also trying all these planets, it's a matter of us now in the Scorpio new moon cycle surrendering to that inner wisdom and inner guidance, and staying aligned with our inner compass. One thing that might be helpful to note at this time, and really this is all through the year while Jupiter is in Cancer, but with Jupiter in Cancer, one of the big lessons has been, I mean, there's so much I could say, but emotional regulation on a personal level. And we're all hopefully learning how to do that. And with the moon being the ruler of Jupiter in Cancer, every 2 days when the moon changes signs right now, we're learning a lot. We're learning different lessons. We're I mean, I guess you could say that for any time, but maybe I'll find a better way to articulate what I'm trying to say here. But all in all, with this Sagittarius season, a lot is shifting. We're at a pivotal moment. And as we near, so before I get to the full moon, I'm going to go ahead. Should I put 2 slides? Forwards. I guess I have the charts open. Okay, I may jump back and forth. Okay, here. I'm going to start here first, and then maybe I'll go to the full moon and new moon later. So I'm going to run through this, and I'm not going to go through every aspect, but I'll go through the major ones. Maybe I'll run through all. Let's see. But as we enter the Sagittarius season now, first of all, this week Saturn is stationary, and Saturn will station direct on the 27th of November. Mercury stations direct on the 29th, and then Neptune stations direct on the 10th. So we've got 3 planets stationing direct this month. That's quite a bit of forward movement. So anywhere, where things have felt, especially with Saturn stationing direct at the end of the month, Saturn and Mercury. Here in the US, this is Thanksgiving week, and I think 27th is Thanksgiving Day, and Saturn stations direct that night at 10:51 p.m. here in New York. And the day before that, Venus is trine Jupiter and Saturn. So, and tomorrow, Mercury will be conjunct Venus. So there's important, serious conversations on the table right now. And with Venus trine Jupiter and Saturn, there's a real sense of, you know, stability. Our relationships are stabilizing, but they are also changing very much so. So lean into these changes right now. And if you're feeling if you're feeling good, that's great. Nothing wrong. In fact, there are opportunities arising to deepen our connections and where our hearts are really swelling up and as we understand the love and support that is present in our life. And this could be a very tender watershed moment, even perhaps, there could be some of that where we're just overwhelmed with love and gratitude. It is Thanksgiving, and this, above all, I should mention Jupiter and Sagittarius teaches the lessons of gratitude. And it's said that gratitude is the highest vibration, in the universe that we can have. Because if we can only be grateful for our lives and the gift of life itself, we can draw into our worlds everything to be grateful for. And the more we start to count our blessings, we can see how blessed we are. So whatever else is going on in your life right now, be grateful. And even if something seems to be going topsy-turvy, which I'm not predicting that, but I am saying that because Mercury is retrograde, that's really the message, that Mercury is retrograde. We're probably not seeing things straight. So with Mercury and Saturn about to station direct, if you're feeling upset about something, then release your emotions consciously and emotional baggage consciously and recognize that it likely has more, because Venus will trine Jupiter, Saturn also retrograde. So recognize this likely, any sense of emotional overwhelm you're feeling likely has more to do with the past than the future. And the more we can let go of our perceptions, you'll see that, something, even if it's not going according to the way you thought it was going to go, your expectations, this is a blessing in disguise. And that's with the trine, that's what it is. These trines are easy aspects. So even if you can't see it, something is a blessing in disguise. And with Saturn stationary, Mercury stationary, it's like there's we're reaching some serious understanding here. And that could be we could be having heavy conversations, important discussions, learning information that changes everything or changes how we see things. Doors are opening and closing as we move to the end of November. And this is pretty heavy. This is heavy stuff. But at the same time, the truth will set you free. Because on the 29th, Venus, just after Mercury stations direct, Venus opposes Uranus, trines Neptune, and then enters Sagittarius, 29th, 30th, and then will sextile Pluto, which is actually today, as I record this, the sun is just sextile Pluto, just 5 minutes ago, made an exact sextile to Pluto. So even what I'm saying right now, it's going to come to fullness around the full moon. So definitely re-listen to this audio. Whenever you listen to it, re-listen to it again at the time. But yeah, so once Mercury stations, Saturn Mercury stations direct, it's like we're learning our limits, our boundaries, doors are opening and closing. We're seeing, we're seeing who we have space for at our table in one sense, and who has space for us. And we're understanding the value of what we bring to the table and what our connections bring to the table and what we're committing to now. We're also letting go of, illusions and perhaps past disillusionment, so we can now build the future on solid foundations. And it's like we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. So the more we can let go of our perceptions, we can start to see a more divine reality and the infinite potential in things. Now, look, Saturn is at the end of Pisces, and Neptune is also at the end of Pisces and about to station direct. And Neptune will also now enter Aries shortly. Let's look exactly when. I think it's sooner than Saturn. Yeah, January 4th, so hardly any time, right? Neptune has been in Pisces since 2012. And now we're at the end of this 13-year transit of Neptune in Pisces, where we've seen through, hopefully, all our illusions and disillusionment and disappointments and projections, and at least in one area of our life where we have Pisces in our chart. And Neptune is a modern ruler of Pisces. Jupiter is the other ruler of Pisces. So this is very, again, spiritual energy, and whatever's playing out in our life, there's divine timing in play. We've been in the process of materializing a dream, but for that, first we've had to see what is fantasy and learn what is illusion. And then so we can actually understand what reality is and what really matters, because ultimately life is transient. Only thing that lasts is love and unconditional love. And what we're learning with Saturn in Pisces are lessons of unconditional love. With this new moon opposite Uranus, there's a need for deep acceptance of ourselves and of others, and not trying to control anybody, you know, just knowing our limits and our integrity. And then we can renegotiate arrangements because Mercury will go direct. So we're understanding something on a deeper level. Then we can renegotiate arrangements and realign as we realign with our values. And again, there's a need to remain detached. It's like we're becoming clear about what we need, what we want, our bottom line, and beyond which we can't go. So once Mercury stations direct, there's definitely a sense of, again, truth coming to the surface, information coming to the surface, because we'll be in Mercury storm phase. Look at what first started to surface around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of October. Mercury entered shadow on the 21st of October. So 21st and the days following, because now Mercury is back at that point, at that degree in the zodiac, and we're coming back to that point, understanding situations that first started and conversations that first started to surface around then. Now we're understanding them on a deeper level and seeing the truth of situations. And with that will come choices. We have choices to make, because then the full moon arises. Because with this Venus here, relationships are definitely going through a lot of changes here. And it would be best to not try to control anybody, even financially. This energy is very lucrative, and with the full moon growing, our emotions are growing, relationships are growing, and we're seeing the potential in situations. So it's all good. Really, everything is working out in our best interests always. And December definitely looks to be, as I mentioned, we're moving to a place of much greater freedom and security. The only, what do you call, hard aspects, quote unquote, are the squares, and the squares are always best resolved internally. So anything that, even if anything feels like a bit of a wrestling match, recognize this is an inner wrestling match. This has nothing to do with anything else or any blocks outside. Now with, the full moon will align on the 4th of December, and that's going to bring revelations and truths to the surface and important choices to make. And we're reaching a crossroads around the 4th. And soon after that, 6th, 7th, Mercury again trines Jupiter and Saturn. So Mercury will be back around where it is right now. And we're really understanding something. And this is Mercury's third pass. So we're now, it's like we have clarity on our direction and where we want to go next. And then on the 8th of December, Mars squares Saturn. So that can feel a little tough. But again, this is my point with the squares. Squares are inner turning points. So it's like we're building muscle right now. And where we're understanding where our limits are, how far we want to go with something or not. And this is an inner process. Nobody can tell you what to do here. It's time to grow up for all of us. Saturn speaks of maturity. And even with Saturn station direct, as I mentioned, we're embodying the lessons that we've been learning since March 2023. And really, with Saturn in Pisces, these are life lessons, these are soul lessons. So we've been learning these lessons through lifetimes. And, you know, depending on how long you want to be here and how long I want to be here, and how seriously we want to take our spiritual journey, we can just keep coming back and recycling. With Saturn at the end of Pisces and this being Sagittarius season, this really, whatever else is going on in our life, it's a great time to deepen your spiritual practice, whatever that is. And with Mars square Saturn, we're building muscle, and we're building spiritual muscle, especially because then on the 10th, Neptune stations direct, and Neptune is the planet of imagination, fantasy, healing, spirituality, divinity, God, transcendence, music, creativity, art. It's everything magical and illusory, as well as, the source of all, the void, out of which everything is born. So Neptune is everything. And Neptune is now at 29 Pisces, which is its home sign, last degree of the sign, last degree of the zodiac. This is infinite magic and infinite potential at our disposal. It's a matter of us now having faith in ourselves and trusting that whatever challenges you face, or I'm not saying that there is a challenge, but I'm saying, we are stepping up to a new level. So naturally, it feels like being, we're graduating one class and we're about to enter a new class, and naturally we're new, so we don't know anything, and we're going to have to learn new lessons. And so as long as we remember and keep perspective that this is a natural part of our growth, you can find that inner strength to manifest and materialize whatever it is that you need. Mainly it's inner strength and resolution. So, and then things could unfold almost like magic with Neptune stationing direct. So this energy can be very dreamy and poetic and magical, musical, creative at best. But if you're feeling hazy or bogged down or tired or, fuzzy or unclear, then be patient and wait till clarity returns. Don't push yourself. You'd rather not rush into something if you're not sure about something. Trust in timing, divine timing as well, because once Neptune stations direct, Mercury will oppose Uranus for the third time, and then trine Neptune, newly direct Neptune. It's like slowly clarity is returning and a fog is lifting. And then Mercury will enter Sagittarius, still in its third shadow phase. So there's more truth and information coming to light. 14th, Mars will square Neptune. This could also feel a little fuzzy, foggy. So avoid projection, I would say, and avoid looking externally for answers, because otherwise it could just feel like a hall of mirrors and a lot of smoke and mirrors where you don't know where to turn or who to trust or where to go, or perhaps there are infinite ways to go about doing something and infinite options and many ways to look at something. So ultimately, you're going to have to tune into your inner guidance and inner compass with this aspect on the 14th. And trust that, and trust that you're being guided, because the next day, Mars will enter Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So it's like, after having gone through this deep introspection, in landing on solid ground, and Mars in Capricorn is exalted, which means it is at its best. And it's like now we've surveyed the landscape, we've surveyed our options, we may not have all the answers, but we know what we need to know for now. And we're carving, it's like we've gotten perspective and a vantage point, or rather an aerial view, and now we're making our way up the mountain from ground up. I don't know if that's the best analogy, but that's what came to me right now. Because the ones at Mars and Capricorn is like once you've set your sights on a goal, then it's a matter of dedication, determination, and making your way there. Then it's not a question of, and it's always that, right? It's not a question of whether you can do something, especially under these aspects. Question is, or whether you can climb a mountain. It's like, which mountain do you want to climb? So, or where do you want to go? You can go anywhere in the world, but the world is your oyster, but where do you want to go? So that goal is important, or at least a sense of direction. Because the full moon aligns on the 19th of December. And well, on the 16th, the sun will square Saturn. So this is repeating the Mars square Saturn. And again, we're reaching the next turning point in this process of us, really building muscle, having faith in ourselves and our own abilities and our future. And knowing that, okay, we don't have all the answers, but as long as we're being true to ourselves and our integrity, and we're being as honest as we can with ourselves, we can, and as aligned as we can be with our inner compass, we can find a way forward. Because then that's on the 16th, and then on the 19th we have a full moon, which will be in Gemini. So that will mark the end of the cycle that began with oh, sorry, 19th we have a new moon. The full moon was on the 4th. 19th we have a new moon. So 16th, 17th, 18th, we're moving through the dark of the moon, and it definitely, we're moving inward, and we're also reaching the solstice on the 21st, right? On the 21st. So here in the northern hemisphere, this is also the, when the nights are the shortest, or rather the nights are the longest. And so we're reaching, and then after the solstice, the days start getting longer. So this is the darkest night, and the darkest hour comes before the dawn. So as this new moon aligns and as this moon wanes, we're deep in the darkness. But it's true, the darkest hour comes before the dawn. So trust this. There's going to be, surrounding the full moon, the new moon will bring a whole new beginning, and we're going to be starting a whole new journey, given everything that we've learned and we've understood. And now it's a matter of us trusting the journey and trusting that we know where we're going and we have a goal, and having faith in ourselves that we can get there. These squares at the end of the year, again, it can feel a little rough when we're feeling tender and we're feeling a lot of emotions. And the moon will be entering Capricorn season from the 21st of December. So I'll have more to say about that then. Venus will be square Saturn, then the sun squares Neptune as we enter just before Capricorn season. So around this full moon, it just feels like we're turning a serious corner here. And this is nothing needs to be difficult. It's like something is really strengthening within us. And certainly our relationships and our commitments are deepening. And it does not even have to be a commitment to someone else. It can be a commitment to a goal. It could be a commitment to our own evolution. But yes, of course, even our relationships are moving to a new level. And with Sagittarius and the new moon in Sagittarius, there's a need for faith, and faith in the journey, and faith. Sorry, I'm pausing because I'm just having a few thoughts coming in. So, oops. I think I stopped sharing. Now I think you can see my screen. I'm going to pause this thing recording for a quick second here. I had to take a short break there. Thank you for being patient. But coming back to, I think I was at the full moon, and sorry, I was at the end of Sagittarius season. These squares, all of these squares, this is us turning a corner now towards our dreams and a life that we're building, a dream life that we're building on solid foundations, where we've lost our illusions now. And now we need to find that inner strength as we, and discipline and determination and dedication. Once we've reached that vantage point and we enter this new moon cycle and we make our way onward. So, to sum it up, these outer planets now, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, all these planets, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, they're all at the end of their transit through their respective signs. So Uranus is at the end of Taurus, transit that began in 2018. Neptune is at the end of Pisces, a transit that began in 2012, 11, 12, 12, February 2012. And Saturn, March 2023. And next year, they're all changing signs. Neptune changes signs, enters Aries in January. Saturn follows to enter Aries in February. And then Uranus will enter Gemini in April. So the next few months, December, February, and then finally by April, we're going to be entering a whole new world and a whole new era and whole new territory. But we have gotten a glimpse of this earlier this summer here in the north. But between the end of May and September, October, even November, we were kind of getting a glimpse into what's to come. And now these few months between now and next spring, we're transitioning out of an old life. We're closing old chapters, and Saturn stationing direct is part of that. So as you move to recap the month, as we move through the end of November, and Saturn stations direct, it's like the floodgates are opening and we're moving forward. We're marching forward. We're leaving the past behind. And this is, in one sense, a point of no return. We know what we want. We're clarifying our goals at best. And then by the time of the full moon, and then Mercury stations direct, and we're reaching a deeper understanding of something, but move slowly because Mercury will be in shadow until about the 15th of December, just when Mars enters Capricorn. So we're still making this third final run, and we're still reaching a deeper understanding. So there's still more to learn here. And we're going to be recovering this territory for the third time now. But then by the full moon, we have choices to make. We're reaching a crossroads. Trust your inner guidance, make time for self-reflection, pay attention to the conversations you're having. I guess we could look at the full moon and new moon chart at this time now, really quickly. So the full moon, at the full moon on the 4th, we've got Venus is close to the sun. Venus and Mars are both in Sagittarius now. And Venus and Mars are going to make a conjunction at 18 degrees of Capricorn on the 7th of January. So that's going to be a reset, an important reset for our relationships. Last time Venus and Mars made a conjunction was back in February in 2024. Yes, 2024, end of January 2024. So you might want to look back at what was happening at the end of January, February, right about then. I can look it up exactly. But Venus and Mars were conjunct, and now this is another reset. Oops, sorry. Previous. How did I even get that far? Okay. February 22nd, 2024. So you might want to look back at what was starting to take seed at the time, and a new cycle that was beginning, especially in our relationships and financial situations. Now, 2 years later, Venus and Mars will make a conjunction again, but this time in Capricorn. And so now we're moving into a different phase in our relationships. And I'll have more to say about this in Capricorn season, but this is powerful. This is intense because it's also going to be opposite Jupiter. And there's a lot going on here. There's a lot I could say about this, but I'm going to hold my thoughts for now. But in short, as we move to January, relationships are also reaching an important reset. So you might want to look back at the past 2 years. Again, this is this whole Saturn period, at what's been unfolding in your relationships. And now, relationships are slowly evolving to a new place, and the goalposts are shifting. And we're turning this corner now, this month, as we move through Sagittarius season. So at the time of the full moon, Venus and Mars are also in Sagittarius. So when it comes to relationships, especially, we're having important conversations, but relationships need a lot of freedom at this time. And again, acceptance, because this is the full moon that is closing out the Scorpio new moon cycle, which began on the 20th of November. So there may be important communication, conversations coming up, choices. Be honest with yourself, then it'll be easier to be honest with others, and make time for self-reflection. And the more freedom you can offer others, the deeper you can deepen your connections and bonds, because you can't really, ultimately only free relationships that are born out of freedom can really go the distance, especially in this climate here. So be wise, look at the look at your long term, look at the big picture here, stay focused on the big picture. Then you can find your way forward or take the next steps and recognize that this is the journey. So, and with all these planets now at the end, it's a necessary part of your journey, but we're turning that corner towards, it's an important words. Mercury's got my tongue. But this month we're turning a corner. It's an important turning point in our life's journey. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. This month brings an important turning point in our life's journey. And this full moon will bring us to that crossroads. So be honest with yourself, then you can make choices moving ahead. And then by the new moon, time of the new moon, Venus is conjunct this new moon. So again, our relationships are in focus, and lead with the heart. Financial matters as well. Your values, our values are important. Big picture, be wise, be philosophical. There's a need for temperance. And again, emotional regulation and trusting our inner guidance, inner compass, inner truth. This is December 19th. So this is also when all these planets will be square. This new moon is past a square to Saturn. So which means we've already turned a difficult corner. Venus will square Saturn a day later. When does that happen? Here. On the 21st. So just before the solstice. So we're on our way now, where Venus will square Saturn in the new moon, which means anytime there's a square, again, it's an inner resolution, but there can be a sense of, especially a square to Saturn, can feel like there could be a sense of separation. But, and when I say separation, how do I put it? It's like, the support is there, but there's some things that you have to do for yourself. For example, and this is not a literal translation of the energy, but if you fall down and you hurt your knee, even if you have a partner or family or someone taking care of you, you still have to heal. Your body has to heal, and you have to undergo the pain that you're undergoing. No one else can do that for you. So it's a similar kind of a situation with squares, where the support is there, but ultimately you're the only one who can do something, and this calls for inner strength. So this new moon, as we enter that new moon cycle here, it's like we're on a journey, and at the end of the day, if Sagittarius speaks of spirituality, we're all on a spiritual journey, and that ultimate journey is one we make alone. And our relationships, at best, we're like travelers on this journey of life, and we don't know how long we have with others and when it's time to part and when we'll meet again. So, but we have to trust, we have to have faith. Sagittarius speaks of faith, faith in the journey, having faith that, even if we have to sometimes go our own way, when as long as the love is there, Venus, we'll come back together again. Even if you're married to someone, you can't be with the person 24/7, right? So there's that need for faith and trust, and that we'll come back to each other. And that's the thing. No piece of paper can really hold anyone down, nor can it really separate anyone. So, and by that I mean a marriage or a divorce. And I'm speaking of marriage and divorce right now, just as an example. But you can translate that to any other situation where ultimately these bonds that we have are heart and soul bonds, they're karmic bonds. And Mercury will be square the nodes at this time. So there's definitely, some information that's coming up that's has an important message for our destiny and our future. But there's also need for having that, like, it's like, okay, we're making that journey. If you're going on a hike, then you're going to have to pack all your stuff and take it with you and plan for that, knowing that you're going to be in the middle of nowhere for a while with no water, with no access to water, food, whatever. So you need to take what you need to take for the time that you're going to be traveling. So that's the analogy, and you can apply it to your life as it fits. And I guess on that note, I'm going to run through the 12 signs here. And I'm not going to read out what I've already written here, but I'm going to try and just look into the chart and give you my first intuitive insights of how this is playing out for you. This month is playing out for you. So hold on, sorry. Actually, I've got the wrong chart up here. Hold on. So this applies for your sign and your rising sign. And I would definitely recommend you listen to all the signs, because then you can apply it to, your chart as a whole in terms of derived houses. I'm not going to get into derived houses right now, but if you know how to do that, you can do that. Uh, what am I trying to do here? Okay. So I'm going to pull up the chart for the ingress again. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to start with Libra. That's just the way I have it set up. So the Libra, this takes place in your third house, which rules all of these areas of your life. So these themes are in focus. Libra also, the third house also rules your neighborhood and your siblings' mind. Primarily, it's your mind and your perceptions. It's like we don't see the world as we are. We don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. So for you, Libra, really, this is asking you to open your mind. And every year when the sun enters Sagittarius, your mind and your ideas and your communication, these themes come into focus. And the full moon will always bring things to light, and the new moon will always be a new start and a new beginning for your ability to communicate, negotiate, and be honest. And again, your relationship with your siblings, neighboring towns are highlighted on a very mundane level. You could be traveling short distances. Third house also deals with matters of transportation, and it is the holiday season. So if it all depends on how you communicate with people right now, how you say something matters as much as what you say. Here, 1 minute. This is still showing. Now we got it. Just 1 second later. How you communicate, because Venus, your ruler, Libra, is still in Scorpio. Was still in Scorpio at the time of this ingress, and currently is still in Scorpio. But depending on when you're listening to this, but this is seeding the energy, right? So for you, your values are important, and it's how do you communicate now honestly with partners about what you need to feel safe, to feel like you can trust, and be honest about there are important truths coming to the surface for you, Libra. It starts with you being honest with yourself. Your relationships are certainly evolving very profoundly, and you don't need to fear losing anything or anyone you love. So that's, in fact, what's happening now is pushing you to be really honest so that your relationships can flourish. And this is, I say relationships because Mars is here in your third house, and Mars speaks of relationships. So partners are listening. It's just a matter of you being able to communicate honestly, whatever it is that you need to talk about. And you do have a lot on your mind. So, okay, I'm going to just stop there because that's what's coming through for now. Scorpio. But Libra, your third house is in focus, and these areas of your life are in focus. Stay true to your values, be honest with yourself, then you can communicate with others. This is really messing with me because I have the wrong chart pasted in this file. And then every time I try to swap it, it switches, and then I know it's not the right one. Okay, sorry, guys. All right, Scorpio, Sagittarius season. This is your second house, which deals with your self worth, your self esteem, your values, your income, your core commitments. And you're getting to the heart of what you value in your life. And with Sagittarius here on the second house, you value your freedom, you value honesty, you're a very generous person of heart, of spirit. You value kindness, you value, second house also deals with money. So everybody values money, but really, what is money other than a reflection of our own self-worth and self-esteem? Because depending on how we value ourselves, that's what will dictate the relationships and resources that we attract into our world. Second house also deals with the resources. That said, just because someone has more money in the bank, that does not mean that they're necessarily happier or better than anyone who has less money in the bank. So really, money is just energy, right? It's just one aspect of that second house. As a Scorpio, this season really is about you learning to value yourself, and with all the planets making a square to Saturn. Okay, Libra, I should have said that. I'll finish Scorpio, then I'll go back to Libra. But with Scorpio, the story is here, right? And for Libra as well, for everyone, the story is happening with these squares here. So for you, this is about what's going to make you happy and what do you truly value. And if you have children, then maybe you may have important choices to make, and you're reaching an important turning point. Your creativity is in focus as well. You're really leveling up, but more than level, you're deepening in your sense of self-esteem, Scorpio, and growing in an understanding of what you value and the value of what you bring to the table in all your connections, in your romantic relationships as well as creative partnerships, your relationship with children and children in your life, whether they're your own children or the children you come into contact with, also have a lot to teach you right now. And there's an element of you learning to reconnect with your inner child and that endless source and pool of creativity that's within you, and use it wisely. So this can be a very enriching time, Scorpio, where you're ultimately turning a corner and understanding what makes you happy and learning to invest in that and invest in yourself primarily. Libra, for you, coming back to the square between in the third house, and for you, it's in your third and sixth houses. So there may be important lifestyle choices that you're considering. There may be a lot on your mind when it comes to work. Your health is important, your mental health is important. Time management may be an important factor in what's unfolding. If your health is in question, then maybe, again, it comes down to an entire lifestyle change. But trust that the choices you're making now are ultimately setting you up to live a life in alignment with your values, as well as a deeper sense of purpose, something that brings a life, living a life that brings you a deeper sense of purpose daily, not and fulfillment daily, not just someday in the future. And you do have big goals, and your career is definitely expanding this year. But first, it's important that, and there are huge opportunities that are arising. But first, it's important that you clarify your goals and get your life in order, so that once then Jupiter stations direct in March, you're going to be taking a big leap forward professionally. But for now, it's about you being honest with yourself about what is and isn't working for you in your life, so you can restructure your life in a way that really works for you as much as you work for it, and so that it supports you, your health being in focus as well. Okay, I'll go on forever if I keep going, so I'm going to try to wrap it up quickly here. Sagittarius, of course, this is happy birthday, Sagittarius. It's your season. And with the sun and planets moving through your first house, this is all about you, your identity, your physical body as well. And everything, when you say I am, whatever your name is, who am I? That's the first house. So as you move through the season, it's a great time to really, it is your birthday season. So it's a good time to, you're coming around, you've gone around the sun one more year. Look back to how far you've come and look at where you're going. It's time to step into the light now, into the fullness of everything that you've become. And yeah, take stock of where you want to go. With Saturn in your fourth house and these planets squaring Saturn, you're reaching a deeper understanding of your foundations and what you want to build your future on, and the past that you're leaving behind. And it's time to grow up and level up. So life is changing from the inside out, bottom up, in every way. And on the surface as well as deep behind the scenes. But ultimately, you are being freed to live a life in alignment with a deeper vision that you've had, a soul vision, even. So, this is you coming back home to yourself, Sagittarius. And it's been a long road to get to where you are at, but you're in the home stretch now. So, trust that. And soon, once Saturn enters your fifth house, or rather, planets leave your fourth house, you'll be entering a whole new phase. But for now, as the sun and planets move through Sagittarius, just focus on yourself, put yourself first, not necessarily selfishly, but yeah, you are the center of your universe. So if you can stay centered within yourself and move in self-awareness, then you can trust that the choices you make will work for everything and everyone you care about. And with Mercury retrograde, yeah, right now it may seem like you don't really know what's going on with partners, but you will have more clarity as the month progresses, certainly around the full moon and once Mercury stations direct. So move slowly, just avoid assumptions. You're not alone in this. You do need other people's cooperation, and people are on your side. It's just right now things are still, you don't have the full picture. So be patient as more is revealed. Capricorn. Capricorn, this transit takes place in your 12th house. These are the 12th house themes that you're dealing with. And the 12th house is always, it's a season before the sun enters your sign, which is Capricorn. So every year when the sun is in Sagittarius and we move through Sagittarius season, it's a time when you're feeling a lot more introspective, and it's it's a good time to take time for introspection and move within and rest, recharge physically, emotionally, mentally, just wind down from the year before you start over and the sun enters Capricorn and you're ready to celebrate and enter the new year. And as a Capricorn, you're a Saturnian, you're a Saturn ruled sign, and Saturn, your ruler, is stationing direct at the end of November. So there are your and Saturn is currently and has been in Pisces, your third house, since uh, March 2023. So you might want to look back at what was unfolding at the time, because now you're at the end of a 2.5 year period of learning lessons in your third house, which is, I mean, it could be all these third house aspects. Look at this. And this is why I say derived houses. But you've been learning to use your voice again and find your voice. Communication might have been an important theme. And with all the planets in your 12th house, it's like right now there's a lot that's stirring within you where you may not even have the words for, or you may not be fully ready to speak yet because you're still trying to figure things out for yourself. You have important choices to make, choices that will impact your foreseeable future, if not long term future. So take your time. There's no rush here. You'd rather move slowly and steadily when you have clarity. Once the sun enters Capricorn and reaches the solstice, that's when you'll really have that clarity of stepping out and knowing where you're going, because then we'll be past the new moon in Sagittarius as well. For now, this month, make time for, pay attention to your dreams, your daydreams as well, the visions you're having. There's a new dream birthing within you, and you're kind of ending around the full moon. There could be stuff coming around. You're closing a cycle at work, and you're seeing things, you're seeing your life in totality, what is and isn't working for you. Pay attention to your health, physically, mentally, emotionally, on all levels. Again, work, your colleagues, relationships with your colleagues, your daily life and routines are in focus around the full moon. And it's just a good time for you to take a look at what is and isn't working, so you can take stock and then make adjustments, necessary adjustments, because now you're closing a cycle, and from the full moon to the new moon, again, the new moon is in your 12th house. This is a powerful release of an old life, an old way of life. So as you clarify a new dream that's birthing within you. And then once a new moon aligns on the 19th and then 21st, that'll be, pay attention to that new moon, because that's again a deep sense of inner knowing is what I'm getting here. Trust that inner knowing. You're realigning with your inner compass. It's a great time for you to be meditating, deepening your spiritual practice. You're also becoming aware of unconscious and subconscious patterns that may have tripped you up in the past. But now, as you become aware of them, and your mental patterns and mental processes, as you become aware of them, you needn't repeat the same cycles again. Saturn is again now direct in your third house. So it's like suddenly you're having this, not suddenly necessarily, but you're coming to a deep sense of clarity this month. Slowly but surely, so take your time with this. And then once the sun enters Capricorn, and by then Mars will be in Capricorn, you'll be feeling a lot more energized and driven and passionate about where you're headed. Even if you don't have all the answers, you'll be ready to take at least the next steps forward, because you are being guided divinely. So it's just a matter of you now also taking time to go inward and listen to the guidance that's coming through. and then having faith in that journey. It's like footsteps in the sand. Okay, I'll stop there. So Capricorn. Now next is Aquarius. Oh wow, I better move faster because I'm going super slow. Aquarius, this is your 11th house. Friends, hopes, aspirations, fulfillment of wishes, liberation, spiritual liberation, serendipity. So it's a very serendipitous time, and you're feeling social. Aquarius is naturally a social sign. Your networks and your social circle is very much in focus right now, and you could be having just a lot of parties and work and business and friends, and it's a social season. It's the festive season, and it's a social season. That said, with all these squares to Saturn, it's important now that you're not comparing yourself to others. You are reaching a turning point in your friendships and understanding, the circles that you want to move in and you don't want to move in, as well as who you can trust to have your back and be in your corner, not just to your face, but even when you're not present. You're learning who your friends are. And this is not about judgment, but it's about you understanding your values and being very clear on your values. You don't need to judge anybody. It takes all kinds of people to make this world, but you're known for the company you keep. And there's nothing wrong with being more discerning. In fact, it's important, it's wise. It would be wise to be discerning about who you share your time with. Not everybody is entitled to your time. So these are choices that you have to value yourself. So you're reaching a deep understanding of your limits, your boundaries, your values, and what's important to you, and who really has your back. You're turning an important corner here in terms of even deepening your self-esteem, and ultimately what's happening is liberating you. So you're even on reaching a deep understanding of your hopes and dreams and wishes, and you could see at least one small wish come true. There could be at the full moon, though. Full moon's in your fifth house. So if love and friendship could be in focus, it could be a very romantic time as well. But on the other hand, there could be bittersweet endings and beginnings as well. So have faith. Change is in the air for you, for everyone really, but change is in the air for you specifically. So have faith that whatever you've dreamed for yourself, the universe has dreamed bigger and better. But you've got to allow space and for that to happen. And sometimes these things take time. So even if, and I'm not saying anything is ending, but even if something seems to be ending, like let's say, for example, and I'm not predicting this, but let's say you're having a breakup, it can be painful at the time, but ultimately it's creating space for the right person to enter your life. And, conversely, you could be deepening now important connections. What matters is that you feel free enough to be yourself, whether it's with your friends or with the people in your world. You don't need to be anyone you're not to try to fit in. So, freedom is an important theme, and it's important that you're feeling free to be yourself here. And then have faith that you can only deepen bonds with others who share your values. Okay, Pisces. Aquarius, if something else comes up to me, I'll say it. But Pisces, this is your 10th house. So your public image, profession, your relationship with your mother, relationship with authority, your goals, ambitions. These themes are all in focus. You're a natural visionary, Pisces, and it's a great time for you to now be thinking about your goals, clarifying your goals. Saturn's been in your sign since Saturn is also the planet that speaks of goals, and Saturn's been in your sign since March 2023. And you've had to grow up. Pisces, you're a tender soul. but you've had to learn lessons of boundaries, and some of this, not all of this has been easy, but hopefully you can see how far you've come and how much you've grown. And now there's an element of you reparenting yourself on some level here, where, no matter what our relationship or with our parents was like, our childhood, whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is, in the present moment, you taking responsibility for your life from this point on, and even the past, present, future. I mean, really, there is only this moment. Jupiter, the traditional ruler of Pisces, is currently in Cancer, which is your fifth house. So for you, you're really learning or having to learn how to stay in the moment this year. But especially this month with Sagittarius season, oh, this is why I'm getting confused, because I'm looking at the wrong chart, and then yeah, there we go. Here's the right chart. I mean, this was Saturn, but I could tell this node was off. Anyway, so Pisces, this is a turning point in you, understanding what you're capable of you becoming clear on your goals, of you leaving behind childhood insecurities in the past and emotional baggage, so that you can step into the fullness of who you've become and have faith that, you know, whatever challenge you face right now, or whatever you face right now, this is a challenge you can rise to. This is your challenge to rise to. You are here for a reason. It's not by accident. So have faith in that, and have faith in yourself, and you're about to surprise yourself with what is possible. Okay, I'm speeding up a little bit because I'm going super slow here otherwise. Aries, ninth house. So your ninth house, Aries, speaks of journeys. Ninth house has everything to do with your spiritual path, long distance travel, high courts, philosophy, even astrology, long distance travel. So your horizons are widening and opening up, and you're being invited to widen your horizons, metaphorically as well as literally. You could be traveling right now. It's a great time to deepen your spiritual practice and path, and align with your spiritual path, and explore new horizons and options, and expand your mind in every way. There are important choices arising, and you're seeing new ways forward as well. And Mars is currently in Sagittarius, and by the end of the month, Mars will enter Capricorn. So once Mars being your ruler, Aries, once Mars enters Capricorn, you'll be in a much stronger position, and you're going to be on top of your game by the end of the year. For now, think of this as you journeying, and your journey is leading you to the top. It's just trust it's a necessary process of you learning and exploring options till you get to a place where you know what you want. And your journey is ultimately, yeah, it's leading you to the top. It's you being, there's a need for you just to be wise and have perspective and think of the long term. And it's a good time to reflect on your long term goals. With all these planets squaring your Saturn in your 12th house, it's having faith in the journey. Having, it's like you don't know, you don't have all the answers right now, and you don't know where everything is leading, but you just have to have faith. That's really and inner strength, soul strength. This is a soul calling and a soul mission that you're being called to. So you've got to trust yourself and trust it, and allow yourself to be guided. Okay, Taurus, Sagittarius season. This is your eighth house, and eighth house deals with death, rebirth, taxes, transformation, marriage, divorce, alchemy, all that's taboo. It's the house of, yeah, deep alchemy and change. And as a Taurus, we all know you don't like change. I don't like change. I'm a Taurus. I have enough Taurus in my chart. But with Uranus in Taurus since 2018, we've had to deal with sudden changes, and we've had to accept, we've had we've gone through sudden growth spurts, and we've had to learn to accept life on life's terms. And Taurus is generally pretty good with that. But now it's like, hopefully you're feeling liberated by this whole transit, but change is here now. And hopefully you're feeling empowered by the changes that are unfolding in your life. And there's a need to surrender to the changes that are unfolding. That said, Taurus, there's a lot of support here. We're still in the Scorpio new moon cycle, which is your relationship zone. And with Uranus in Taurus since 2018, as liberating as this transit has been, and showing you how much greater your potential is from, what you thought, perhaps. And in some ways, it's also woken you up to parts of yourself that perhaps were always there, but, or rather, you've woken up to potential you didn't even realize you had. And you're also shedding skin in a way to reveal parts of yourself that you always knew were there, but now it's like you can't even keep them in anymore. So this may have been isolating because there's an element of you that's with Uranus there. You've seen your own genius and you've surprised yourself in many ways. And this may have been isolating at times. But now you're connecting with powerful others who see and appreciate and love all of you. And this is because you've learned how to accept yourself. So it's you now continuing this journey of surrendering to life and having faith in this journey and moving deeper into self acceptance so you can be liberated from and empowered to live your life authentically. This is the Saturn in your 11th house of friendships. And all these planets are moving through your 8th house is about power. And this is also 11th house is also your dreams and wishes. So you're in the process of materializing your dreams and you're turning a huge corner towards them. It begins with you having faith in yourself and that you've seen dreams fall away. You've seen your own illusions and you've seen how you don't need anything to really make you happy. You're fine. So this can be a really empowering month, Taurus, as you reclaim your power in situations. And financially as well, things are really shifting for you. And hopefully you're recognizing the value of what you have to offer, your connections and others. So that full moon in Gemini is really showing you something about your true worth. And ultimately, this is you empowering yourself to, live your life on your terms. And if the more you can stay aligned with your values, you can align with others who share your values and really deepen those powerful connections that have your back and are in your corner. Okay, Gemini, 7th house. So your relationships are in focus, Gemini, and certainly the full moon in Gemini on the 4th in your sign is going to be an important one for you. It's in your sign. It's the one full moon out of the year that takes place in your sign. So your relationships are in focus and you're in the spotlight as well, where it's important for you to now reflect on your needs and as you find a balance with others in your life. So, and Mercury, your ruler, is currently retrograde, about to station direct. So there's something that's turning within you as well. You've been in a process over the past few weeks of really understanding your life on a deeper level, things that work, if there's been communication breakdowns and stuff at work, with your health, at life, things can start to move forward again this month, surely. But with this, and you have more support than you think. It's just maybe a matter of you asking for the help that you need because people are not mind readers. So It's you, yeah, communicating and asking for the help that you need and learning to communicate honestly with others in your life. Also, with Uranus now back in Taurus, and Uranus is, you know, was in Gemini for the past few months and will return to Gemini. Gemini, for you, this is Uranus is at the end of your 12th house, which has been really a spiritual awakening on the deepest level. And the more you can let go of any unconscious or become aware rather of subconscious fears and patterns, you can have healthier communication with partners today. And the more you can find a way to communicate honestly and openly, you'll find that the things you're worried about or were worrying about perhaps are there's nothing to worry about. And on the other hand, if there's anything that you've been in denial about and comes out into the open, be grateful, because ultimately it's freeing you, it's liberating you to know what you're working with at least. So you have support, Gemini, and your relationships are moving to a new level. And it's you now being honest with yourself so you can have deeper and more honest connections with others where your needs are met as well and you feel supported mutually, you know? Okay. Cancer, for you, this transit takes place in your sixth house. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to pause the recording for a quick second because I need to pause the recording. I need a glass of water. Okay, so Cancer, back again. This is all about your daily routines, your health, your work. Sixth house also deals with selfless service, so you could be volunteering at this time. It's a great time to be volunteering, especially around the holidays. But it's a good time for you to be now taking stock of your life and whether your life brings you that deeper sense of meaning on a daily basis and a deeper sense of fulfillment. If your health is, hopefully your health is okay, but if there's any issues arising with your health, then that's really an indicator that you need more balance, you need more rest, aside from, of course, any medical attention that you would need. But more importantly, this is just about you having a really well balanced life and feeling like you can enjoy your life with Venus, Mercury in your fifth house. This is about you learning to love your life. Jupiter is currently in Cancer, which is your sign. And the sixth house also deals with healing. So this can be a very healing season for you, but we can only heal what we acknowledge. So be willing to acknowledge where you need healing and where you need help, perhaps, because help is close at hand. And Saturn is currently stationing direct in your ninth house of in Pisces. And the ninth house deals with, guides and mentors, and even astrology falls in the ninth house. So astrology can certainly bring you insight and perspective into your life, especially with these squares. But on a very mundane level, even, it's like you have goals and it's time for you to now get clear on your long-term goals. Then you can take the necessary steps daily towards your goals and turn that corner and feel like you're really making progress. And again, with the sixth house, it's a daily process. So even healing is a daily process. It's a great time for you to establish and cultivate a daily spiritual practice if you don't already have one, or a meditation practice, or perhaps yoga, anything that really helps you center your energy and come home to yourself. It's your daily hygiene, right? And with Sagittarius here, it's spiritual hygiene is part of this, especially with Jupiter in your first house right now. You're becoming aware. hopefully at best you're becoming aware of where perhaps you need to heal, where you need help, how much you have to give and offer this world, and a long-term vision for your life and how you can accomplish that. But in all of this, it's just important that you take things at one day at a time and don't expect to have all the answers, and having faith that what you need to know will be revealed to you in time. There's divine timing in play here, and it's you having faith in that daily journey and not losing sight of your goals, of your long-term goals, where your days just pass by, without, and you don't feel like you've made progress. You've just got to be patient with yourself, and even just a little bit every day is progress. So trust that. Leo, your fifth house, and then of course the full moon will bring subconscious stuff to light, and then the new moon in Sagittarius is the beginning of a whole new life. Now that you've understood what is and isn't working for you, and an old life that's not working, and what's not in alignment, and subconscious patterns and ways that you self-sabotage, you're beginning on a whole new cycle with the new moon. And this may be, for some people, maybe literally a new job or a new life in some aspect, or new routines in some aspect. This is about you living your best life, or striving towards it at least. And only you know what that balance is for you. So, and what your goals are. But okay, I'll stop there for now, otherwise I'll keep going. Leo, for you, this transit takes place in your fifth house, and your fifth house deals with all of these themes here. And above all, Leo, traditionally, Leo is the sign that rules the fifth house. So, wait, I made a mistake here. Oh my God, I've made a mistake here. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I haven't. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I just, for a second, thought I had made a mistake. Leo, Sagittarius rules your fifth house. And traditionally, the fifth house is ruled by Leo. So you're very familiar with this energy of the fifth house. And it's where you're most free to be yourself. And especially with Sagittarius, the fifth house also deals with an element of taking risks and daring to be yourself, which requires courage and vulnerability. And it's also the house that deals with being in the present, the here and now. So whatever else is going on, it's the festive season. It's a fun time. It's a great time for you to get out there and have fun, for sure. It's likely to be a social time as well. But that said, with the squares to Saturn, there's definitely bigger changes that are unfolding in your life right now. And some of this might feel like a risk. And you may wonder if you have what it takes. I mean, depending on how young or old you are, but then that's the thing, right? The fifth house, it's the house of your inner child and youth. And it's what's unfolding now is asking you to remember that there is only the present. The past or the future doesn't exist. And age is just a number. So you're never too old or too young to start doing what you love, or making a change, or doing things differently. It's really up to you. It's your life. So there's a powerful resurrection underway for you as well, Leo, and it's happening from the ground up, from the inside out. And you're resurrecting and finding your inner strength now, so you can fully step into the fullness of everything you've become. And this will require courage and vulnerability, and your ability to be bold and true to yourself, and have self-acceptance. But, and certainly love and romance is also part of the picture here. But it begins with you loving yourself. Then trust that you're going to draw into your world people who love and see you and the real you, the true, authentic you, your heart. We all have our good days and bad days. So with Sagittarius, it's about, you can't judge yourself based on that or anyone else for that matter, right? And if we do, then we do, in the sense of that just builds a wall between us and others. But that said, with Saturn and Pisces, you've had to learn. You're a big hearted person, you're a lion hearted person, but you've had to learn important lessons of boundaries. And so this comes back to you learning to love yourself better. So you're not, sacrificing yourself and what you want and desire because you're giving away your power to someone else to love you or validate you or whatever. You don't need anybody's validation. Of course, that's easier said than done. But this is with Leo, that's the big thing, right? If you can find, when you can truly find that inner sense of confidence, then you're really free and empowered to be yourself, no matter who thinks what of you. And then trusting that the people who are in your life will be there because they truly see and love you, the real you. Okay, I think I'm repeating myself, but I think you got my message. I hope you did. If not, email me. um, okay, Virgo. Finally, we come to Virgo. And Virgo, this is your fourth house. And the fourth house deals with these matters of home, father, family, roots, belonging, your sense of security on all levels, emotionally, mentally, financially, materially. It's your childhood. So the past falls under the fourth house. It's the foundations of your life. And with the sun moving through your fourth house, I mean, you could have all these themes are in focus. You could be entertaining, you could have house guests, spending time with family naturally around the holidays. But there's a deep sense of it's a good time to reflect on what brings you and what and who really brings you a sense of security and belonging and what makes you feel at home. And it's a great time to let the past go, learn your lessons, but release the past. With these planets squaring Saturn in Pisces, your seventh house, your relationships have been in focus for the past couple of years, and you've been learning important lessons of boundaries again and limits, maybe deepening important connections and doors closing with others, reaching the end of the road with others. You don't have to fear again losing anyone that's important to you or anything that's important to you. But it is important now that you learn your lessons and leave the past behind and forgive the past. But you don't need to repeat your lessons either. So be honest with yourself now. You're deepening in a sense of security, and you get to decide who enters your world and how much and how deeply you let someone into your life. And it's important, there's nothing wrong with you taking your time in getting to know people. And if someone oversteps a boundary, it's like you have to respect your own boundaries before, otherwise, why would anybody else? So, in all of this, you know, it's good to have an open door policy in your life, in all on, metaphorically as well as literally. But at the same time, it's also wise to protect. It's like trust in God, but tie your camel. So it's also wise for you have to choose who you let in. Otherwise, you can't blame if something, you can't just open your house to anyone. And if people steal something, then you can't, you know, you get my drift. So you've got to be safe about, and I'm not saying that there's any danger here, but what I am saying is that you've learned important lessons about what brings you a sense of security and when it comes to your relationships, you're breaking out of codependent patterns and understanding who's truly in your corner, as well as, oh my God, hold on 1 second, pausing for a second, as well as, sorry, I had to stop there for a second. I had to, like, there was something coming to me. This really comes back to your relationship with your father. Whatever that was like, it would help to reflect on it, because you're turning a corner now in understanding that deeper, and then you can make conscious choices without repeating patterns moving forward. So that sense of security, that if you, as a Cancer, as a Virgo, it's like you can't find the security from anyone else, because anyone, at the end of the day, this is you really finding that sense of security within yourself, and then trusting that the support you need in your life is present. It's you being willing to ask for it when you need to, and then letting go of expectations of others, but paying attention to who shows up, and that'll tell you everything you need to know. See, Mercury, your ruler, is retrograde and about to go direct. So there's important conversations, and you're learning important, you're reaching a deeper understanding of your relationships, your life, what you want, your wishes, your hopes, your dreams. And it's like the world is your oyster. You can have what you want. It's everything you want is at your feet in one sense. So you're in a safe position. It's like you don't need anybody. So what are you, what will matter? What matters to you at the bottom of it all? Who is your family? What are your relationships with your family like? These, your relationships and your family life, your domestic life is in focus. On a very literal level, that maybe things coming up around your home, physical home, you may be buying and selling property. This could play out in infinite ways. But essentially, Virgo, you have support. You're not alone in this. It's just a matter of you now being selective and discerning about the past you're leaving behind and what you're creating for the future. All right, so I'm going to stop here for now, but I hope you found that useful. I will pause here in case anyone wants. I'm going to pause the recording after this. And if there are question and answers, I'll take them. But other than that, thank you for being here. I hope you found this useful. I will be back again with you, of course, next month. And if I can sooner, but it looks to be a busy month, but I will have more letters out for you. Also, as the planets move on next year, we are entering this new era. So I'm excited for the retreat that's coming up next year, which I haven't really talked about much, but I hope some of you will be there. And I look forward to discussing more of that in the time to come. But for now, I'm wishing you a very happy Sagittarius season and holiday season, and sending you all my love. Thank you for now. Bye for now. And I'll have the recording up to you soon. Okay. How do I pause this?